important, those two things, and garbage is one of my big ones, as my constituents here on the board will tell you. But the fact of the matter is, it's important overall for the county. You know, we need to look pristine. We need to look sharp. We need to look like, you know, we take care of our community. But the other thing is, Jay was real easy to train. So he's real good. He's got a staff. This is what I want to commend. The staff that we have, he has hired or brought on board or that was existing, he's brought them together and congealed such a good team. And it's hard to do that. Very hard to do that. But I commend him and the staff members for the TDC and Visit South Walton for doing such a great job in representing our county, because they are the smile of Walton County. And thank y'all for doing that. Anyway, thank you again. It's been fun, and good luck to you guys.
Thank you, Tim.
I would like to just reiterate what Tim just mentioned is the team we have at the TDC. It is incredible. We have just such a sense of duty, commitment. This team is really, really incredible. I mean, they get the job done, and they do it really well. So I'd like to thank them for all their hard work. So let's give them a round of applause. So a couple other people I'd like to thank for their service. They're not here with us today. One is Mark Hodgson, who's probably getting ready to go sit on the beach in Mexico right now. But Mark was really great with his tenure with Sandestin and what he did for the community and what he did for us on the council. So we really appreciate his service. And like I said, we have plaques for everybody, so we'll be sending him a plaque in the mail. And then we also have Mark Foley, previously with us from the fire district. He was the representative from the fire district. And Mark was only with us for a short time, maybe about a year and a half. But he was really great when he was on the council. Really had some good insight, asked some good questions, meaningful, insightful questions. And so that's really what we like on this council is, good, robust conversation and how we move our mission forward. So again, thank you to him and to all of our council members who are rotating off. We really appreciate their service to Walton County. So we can give them all a round of applause. And with that, Matt, I will turn it over to you for approval of the minutes.
Very good. Just once again, thanks Trey, Richard, Tim, Mark, and Mark for your service on the board. Special thanks to Tim and to Richard. Thank you for your comments. Well noted on the garbage. You kind of stole Tim's thunder there. Tim has been out there waving that garbage flag for a while. But when I joined the board 4 years ago, I kind of took cues from you two guys, a couple of experienced gentlemen who knew their way around and knew how to conduct themselves on this panel. And so I must say that I learned a lot as well. So I appreciate your service. Thank you very much. Hope to see you around, okay?
If I could just comment on the garbage real quick. We can do a little trash talk here. So a couple things. So there's garbage from a couple of different perspectives, and it's interesting because I think both Richard and Tim are passionate, but they're passionate in their own each way. So Richard is referring to garbage at vacation rentals, homes, that type of stuff primarily. And then Tim is talking about primarily garbage on the side of the roads. And so we're working on both those efforts. I had some meetings with Waste Management before COVID-19 kind of struck up, and unfortunately that's just kind of taken a back seat. But I spoke to Richard actually yesterday, and I told him that I'd make a commitment to work on that and get that back on track. So we will certainly be doing that. And I'm happy to say, as far as the effort for Tim's concern, is I have a meeting actually later this week with Scenic Walton and with Jeff Zender from our ad agency, and with Lori Reichenbach, who represents not only the paid beach ambassadors, but also the volunteer beach ambassadors. And we're going to kind of brainstorm a little bit on what type of efforts there may be for us to handle trash on the side of the road. And so we're going to work on that. So just wanted to kind of give you an update on that it is certainly not something we've forgotten about. It did just kind of take a little bit of a backseat to things going on during COVID, but obviously as we're coming through that, we can kind of start picking up our priorities where they were elsewhere right before COVID hit. So just want to give you an update on that.
Thanks, Jay. Okay, so now for approval of the minutes, are there any corrections or revisions to the October 6th, 2020 meeting minutes? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the October 6th meeting minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Now we're going to do the approval of the August, September financials. And Jason, you want to come up?
Good morning, Council. Jason Cutshaw, Director of Administration. I'm going to be presenting a couple things this morning, our August and September financials. Again, our reports that we get from our TDT, just as a reminder, is always kind of in the rear side. So for October TDT numbers, those are actually collected in September. And then they would be reported, at the first of the next month following. So these are for August and September. These numbers are supported in your financial report that you have in detail with you in the highlighted sections. August, we're 81% through the year with 66% of the budget spent. A lot of that was kind of low because of the limitations we had in the spring. We couldn't do a lot of things that we normally would have done. In September, we're 100% through the year with 69% spent. The pie chart depicts the 1 month of spending and the percent to each department that you see there. The next slide is a snapshot of our most recent month and our end of the year, which ends in September. We have for bed tax collection holistically $31,330,404. Our anticipated revenue for FY20 is $27 million. That's based on a 4%. And in January, we started collecting a 5% bed tax. So we still try to compare those numbers apples to apples. So we look at the 4% first and then add the 5% additionally later. So with that, we are 116% towards that goal. Our bed tax collection in September was $3,794,493, and our retail sales was $10,204. So our total September revenue was $3,804,697. As you can see, our reserves is broken out into each percentage that we collect in the TDT, and our current total is at $55 million, which most is earmarked for beach nourishment and operations in the event of a hurricane or a pandemic. Never really thought we'd say pandemic in my lifetime, but that is the case. The next slide is our TDT collections at 4% year over year. Again, we started collecting a 5% in January, but this is comparing apples to apples. In August, we were at $4,410,990. That is actually 50.67% higher than last year's August. And then in September, we were at $3,041,382, which is 53.15% higher than last year. And with our total year-to-date at 4% at $25.7 million, which is 7.08% lower, actually, than last year. And we believe that the shoulder season marketing and the mild winter last year played a key part in our winter months, having good numbers, but our spring obviously was impacted by the pandemic and the shutdown for short-term rentals. But summer has had strong TDT numbers as we went into the fall, which has had even stronger numbers. Some of these could be from reservations that were forced to shift from the spring into the fall. So that could answer for some of our increases, especially at a 50% rate. But either way, we will take it and love to end the year on a positive note for that, without a doubt.
And so, Jason, once again, what we're looking at there is a 4% versus a 4% comparison, right?
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay.
So we were still 50% up for those 2 months at a 4% comparison.
Right. Great.
The next one will show the 5% worked into the numbers. As you can see, at 5% for the total year end, we were at $31.3 million compared to FY19 at $27.7, which is a difference of $3.6 million. So substantially more. So thank goodness for the fifth penny. Kind of kept us on an even keel, through the rough spots during this past year. And unless you have any questions, I'd like to request approval for the August and September financials as presented.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. The motion passes. And let's see, now we're going to do, thanks, Jason.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Going to do the election of officers at this point. So at this point, would anyone like to volunteer or nominate someone for the chair position? Good. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have any discussion? I'll say something. I think Jennifer has really shown herself to be a great leader on this committee in the 2 years that I've worked with her, and I wholly endorse her for the chair position.
Thank you, Matt.
Happy to see you serve.
Honored. Thank you.
Any public comment? Go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I will pass you the gavel.
Giving a woman a gavel, that's not a good thing. All right. So we have to elect the vice chair, the treasurer, the secretary, and some committee appointments. So we'll start with the vice chair. Would anyone like to nominate for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Scott Russell.
Second.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion or public comment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes, and you have now been elected to serve as vice chair. Next is treasurer. Would anyone like to volunteer or nominate someone for the treasurer position?
I'll volunteer. I've been the treasurer for 4 years since I've been here. I really enjoy working with Jason and the financial team. It's kind of what I've done for a living most of my life. I'm 20 years the CFO for our group and CPA by trade, so I enjoy working with all the numbers and looking at the tax figures and the metrics that are concerned there. So.
Yeah, he's done a great job, so if someone needs to make that motion.
So moved.
Seconded? Good, awesome. We have a motion and a second. Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Congratulations.
Great, thank you.
Would anyone like to volunteer for secretary or make a motion to nominate for that position?
I'll volunteer.
Okay, so he volunteered, Eddie, thank you. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion for Eddie to be secretary.
Wonderful, and do we have a second?
Second.
Good. We have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then next is the committee improvements. Is that correct? Or the committee appointments? So we have Destination, Marketing, and Beach Management Committee appointments to nominate. So do we have any volunteers? Or do we have to nominate or just a volunteer to serve? Okay, volunteer or nominate to serve on the Destination Improvement Committee.
I'll volunteer.
Good, that's great. I was on that committee last year, or this year. Do we have, so now we have a volunteer. Do we need a motion and a second? Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? The motion passes, and Stacy is appointed to the Destination Improvement Committee. Next is the Marketing and Communications Committee. Do we have any volunteers to serve on that? All right, thank you, Andrew. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll make
moved.
the motion.
Perfect, and a second, I guess.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or public comment? Seeing none, we have all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes and is appointed. Andrew is appointed to the Marketing and Communications Committee. We have the last one, which is the Beach Management Committee. Do we have any volunteers to serve on that?
I'm not volunteering. I'm volunteering someone. So I spoke with Jim Shirley. He's not here with us this morning. He had a prior commitment with FRLA and their board. And so, but I did speak with him about this, and he does have some interest. So if somebody would like to entertain a motion in a second, he'd be happy to serve in that capacity.
Oh, we need
So
a
moved.
motion and second on the floor. Is there any discussion or public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. The motion passes, and Jim Shirley is appointed to the Beach Management Committee, whether he likes it or not. And thank you for the appointment for chair. I wanted to say thank you to Richard and Tim again. Both of you have been great mentors to me for the last few years on this board, and your humility and your honor to this community is one I hope to follow in. So thank you. Next is request approval of the 2021 TDC Advisory Council meeting dates. I think, Jay, you're taking this one.
Yeah, just real quick, want to point out, you have in your packets all the dates, but just wanted to clarify. So we had February 9th originally. We switched it when the BCC changed their dates, or not dates, but locations. We changed it to the 16th, and then when we saw that it wasn't a conflict, we switched it back to the 9th. So just for all clarity, wanted to say it was the 9th, switched to the 16th, back to the 9th. So what you have in your packet is correct.
So we need a motion to approve the 2021 TDC Advisory Council meeting dates.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Perfect. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the 2021 TDC Advisory Council meeting dates, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Have the motion passes. Put those on your calendar, or somebody will from the TDC.
Cindy will take care of that. Do you want to?
Yep, we have, the next item is request recommendation of the 2021-2022 North Walton TDT Ordinance Plan to the Board of County Commissioners, and Jay is going to present them.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Madam Chair. So just let me give a little backstory on this, and then I'll kind of jump in and explain the approval process, which y'all are approving. So we've been talking about North Walton TDT for quite some time now, probably a good year and a half. This passed through referendum on the November ballot, and so the voters approved it. If I remember correctly, it was about a 55-45% vote. So pretty nice win for the for the referendum, sorry. So we've been moving this along through different processes. Part of the process was, and one reason why we have a different council in December versus February, was because we wanted the new council to be seated to make this vote that y'all are about to take. We felt that it was important to have the North Walton representation on the council as this vote was being taken. So, most of y'all might be aware of how we work with our TDC ordinance plan. For those who don't, I'll do a little explanation. So every 2 years, we do a plan. We estimate how much money we'll be taking in taxes and then what we'll spend those dollars on. So we just did one in December for South Walton, and now that we're establishing the North Walton tax, we're doing one now for North Walton. So we'll be collecting a 2% tax, and the tentative date for collection to begin is March 1st. That won't be official until the board takes their action approving this ordinance, which they'll do so in like the next month. So just for clarity, you're not approving an ordinance. You don't have the authority to do so. You're approving the plan that goes within the ordinance. So right now, we are projecting that we will collect $620,000 over a 2-year period in North Walton. And then you can see there in your packets, we have allocated 40% for tourism, advertising, promotions, 10% for shoulder season advertising, 40% for product development, and 10% for administration. So I'll talk a little bit about administration if I could. At this time, we do not have any plans to have a separate, I shouldn't say separate organization because there's one TDC per county based on Florida statute. So, but they have in other counties where they have a different group that kind of reports to the TDC and votes. At this point in time, we don't plan on having anything formal. I am going to ask the board to form a advisory committee for North Walton, just like we have just all the committees we talked about: beach management, destination improvement, marketing. And so I'm going to ask the board to form a committee for North Walton so we can have insight in that committee providing recommendations to this council, and then so forth, moving that forward up the chain to the Board of County Commissioners. So I think that's about it on this. If y'all have any questions, I'm certainly available to answer any questions y'all might have.
And I think that's why we have two representations from
Yeah,
north side, if that's,
I'll address that.
Okay, good.
I'll address that. So we had some concerns at the BCC meeting last week. South Walton Fire District came forward, as did Mosquito Control, and they were concerned about their representation of South Walton going away. And so obviously we have lots of representation from South Walton on this council. Each member who is appointed for either, everyone lives in Walton County. Obviously, you have to be an elector per state statute to serve on the TDC Council. And then everyone represents businesses in South Walton. Also, our District 5 Commissioner is on the council. So I think there's plenty of representation from South Walton on this council. So I don't think anybody needs to be really concerned from that standpoint. But let me back up and just explain why what was done was done. So per state statute, you have to have municipal officers on the TDC Council. Well, prior to the referendum passing and collecting tax on the north end, we didn't have municipal officers on the south end. We only had them in the north end. So since they were not available to serve on the council, they did not serve on the council. So that's why we had Mosquito Control and South Walton Fire District, because they were elected officials. They were not municipal elected officials. So I just kind of wanted to give a little background on that so everybody's clear. The board took their action at their meeting last week, and they appointed Councilman Beerbaum and Councilman Ferris to the council. And so that's kind of done. If anybody has any thoughts or concerns about that, I can certainly talk to y'all here at the meeting or afterwards. But if there's any concerns of the board, the action the board has taken, then that really needs to be addressed by the board. So, and I'm not saying y'all, I'm saying if the public has any thoughts or concerns on that, it really isn't anything this body can do. It needs to be taken to the Board of County Commissioners. And they've already taken their action, so I don't really know what else there is to be done about that. So,
thank
anyway.
you for that explanation, Jay. I think that helps a little bit. Do we need a motion for the committee, or do we just add that to the next meeting?
You need a motion for this. No, I'm going to ask the board to form that.
Okay.
And so I don't think I need any action from your part for me to ask the board for that. I'll be asking that probably in the next month or so, month and a half. Just maybe try to get through the holidays a little bit. The board tries to have a little bit lighter, meetings over the month of December, just because, with the holidays. So I'll probably be bringing that back at the first or second meeting in January.
Okay, so do we have a motion to recommend, as Jay said, the North Walton TDT ordinance plan to the Board of County Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to do that.
All right, we have a motion in a second. Is there any discussion or questions to Jay? Any public comment? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's something that we'll evaluate this. I mean, we do this every 2 years, and we actually could do it sooner than 2 years if we need to. So with this being an estimation on the dollars being collected, and then this all being so new, this could easily be tweaked, and certainly will be tweaked in the coming years as this expires in 2 years. So I think to your point, we'll certainly be looking at all that as we move this forward.
And
There's 40% for tourism advertising, probably because it's a new market. Is that really the plans to
Well-
get out there as a new market and then to do shoulder season after that, I assume?
I think that's what we're looking to
What it
do.
looks
But
like.
so let me just talk about the 40%. So the one reason why we have the 40% in there is so by state statute, we have to spend 40% or more. We cannot spend less than 40%. So that's where we came up with that number.
That answers. You got a question, Matt?
No, I just answered it. I was looking at this. Okay, good.
All right, so we have do we have any public comment? All right, we have, seeing none, all those in favor to approve the recommendation? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Next agenda item is request for recommendation to the BCC to approve a request of $30,000 in funding from the TDC to support the Cultural Arts Alliance Underwater Museum of Art. And I think Jay is going to introduce Jennifer.
Yeah, so I'll just give a little backstory to this. So we have been a supporter, TDC has been a supporter of the Cultural Arts Alliance Underwater Museum of Art for, I believe, 2 times now. Jason, is that correct? It's been 2 times? Yeah, so we've funded them twice before now at this point. And Jennifer came to me a few weeks back and said, we're looking for another deployment in the winter, spring, and we're looking to see if we can have any dollars from the TDC to help support our effort. And so Jason and I put money in the budget, so this is a budgeted item. And so we think this has been a really good, we've gotten a lot of great PR out of these efforts with the Underwater Museum of Art. And I'll actually let David maybe just speak to that a little bit when he gets up and do his PR part. I don't want to take up a whole lot of time right now, but there's just been some great successes there. So I asked Jennifer to come, so if you have any questions of her, she can answer any questions you might have. But I think that it's a worthwhile effort, especially for the dollar amount that's being requested. So.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and I do have Andy McAlexander here as well. He's our representative from the South Walton Artificial Reef Association and one of the co-founders of the museum. So if you have any questions on that end, I'm sure he's happy to answer those. I thank you for your consideration of this request. We would have come to you earlier this year. The deployment was scheduled to happen this summer. Obviously, due to the pandemic, that was unable to happen. So we are planning for this deployment to take place in February. And we are, actually today is Giving Tuesday and we're raising funds for this project. We started this morning and we've already raised almost $4,000 online. So we're excited to be able to match those hopefully today. For those of you who are not aware, the first installation happened in June 2018. It included 7 sculptures. We followed that in 2019 with 10 sculptures, and we are planning to deploy 8 additional sculptures next year. Those are all in fabrication phase right now, or they are already on site at Walter Marine ready for deployment. So we're almost there. We just need to get that last bit of funding to help us afford the deployment in February. A couple of things. So we would not be coming back for an additional request until 2022 because essentially we're skipping a year. This deployment will cover 20 and 2021. So you won't see me again asking for dollars until 2022. And then a couple of just notes on the marketing. Obviously, in the recognition, this was included in Time Magazine's 2018 list of the world's 100 greatest places. It's been covered in USA Today's 10 Best Readers' Choice Awards, featured on NBC, in National Geographic as one of the best trips of 2019, and dozens more online and print publications. Last year alone, it garnered nearly 200 million impressions for an estimated media value of nearly $1 million. So your investment sees a great return, as does ours, and I just thank you for your support and ask for this $30,000 funding request for 2021.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to
Wonderful.
accept the request.
Do we have a
for
second?
$30,000.
I'll second.
And do we have any questions from the council for Andy or for Jennifer?
Yeah, I'll just say, when this first came up, I think there were a few people scratching their heads on this, and but the more we learned, and the more we all kind of realized what an opportunity this was to create, an attraction to this area, and the success that you guys have achieved has been spectacular. I mean, the amount of press that has literally exploded in this very short time is so impressive. When I was in my early 20s and used to go diving, we would go down to the Florida Keys, and I was talking about this earlier when this all came up, was that we would go to, I think it's off of Alamorada, Penacamp State Park, which is an underwater dive park where you can swim through all these various sculptures, and it was just in about 30 feet of water, and it was really impressive. It was just a lot of fun. It became a destination, and I would like to hope that that could someday be as popular here as down there. Can you tell me, has the kind of traffic of divers to the area, have you seen some numbers click up since the time you guys have opened, and has that been the main, use in terms of this attraction?
Absolutely. There's been new businesses open here in Walton County directly to that. There have been trips from both Panama City and Destin. Those existing dive communities have added the Underwater Museum as one of their options for customers.
Right.
So it's benefiting Walton County directly, obviously, but also the economies of our neighboring counties. And further on this deployment, we have with Melinda Gates, I think she just gave birth, didn't she? Anyway, she's postponed our normal deployment, but we have secured the deck space from Walter Marine to piggyback the deployment for this one, so we mitigate the costs of that significantly by partnering with Walton County on its annual deployment to another reef site. So everything has been fluid, and yes, the attention and the people coming here to do that dive has significantly increased over the last year or so.
Okay, good to hear.
Yes, sir, I think so. The divers that go down, that, come to specific look at this, we're all pretty much environmentalists to a one. And when we see fish and line and or debris down there that's safe to remove, we pretty much stick it all in our pockets and bring it back up. As far as other ongoing efforts to send down crews to do specific maintenance on that stuff, it's evolving. It's coming as we get more and more volunteer divers, because after all, we are volunteer organizations. So now that we've got a shop in Grayton that can fill tanks, then we've got money budgeted for that, to pay for air fills, to pay for the trips and the fuel and whatnot. But as these businesses become more and more, established, there'll be greater and greater efforts to do that through other grants and other things, and some other things that we're working on to make even more attractive the diving opportunity in Walton County is coming along. Hopefully have a big announcement sometime next year.
I'd like to echo Matt, not only is it a great attraction, but it fits our vision and our mission of kind of the South Walton area. So very, very good. We just hope they stay in Walton County and get to use that amenity while they're paying our bed tax dollars. So thank you. And so we have a motion and a second. Any other comments from the council? Any other public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You're welcome.
Congratulations.
The next item on the agenda is director updates. So Jay, you are up.
I'm just going to introduce our new sales director. So we've had this position open for a little bit of time, kind of like with the garbage. I don't want to equate Karen to garbage, but with COVID, it turned our world upside down. And so we were looking to hire this position, last February, March, and then COVID hit and, our world turned upside down. So I'm happy to say after all these months now to try to return to normalcy. And so we have hired our new sales director. And I need to say that she is amazing, and I'm happy to introduce her here today. So Karen Morris, can you stand up, Karen, and be recognized? So Karen is joining us. We stole her away from the Henderson, I'm proud to say. She was there for a couple years, and then before that, she was with Sandestin for 18 years. So she really knows our product and our inventory really well, and so I'm excited to have her leading the team for sales efforts at the TDC. So with that said, we thought we'd let her off the hook a little bit this morning since she just started last week. So we're going to have Jason do the sales presentation, and Karen will do the one in February. So I'll turn it over to Jason.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Super excited to have Karen here. Just gotta say that. About 9 months ago, I was helping the sales department work out some logistics on some things and get some, and the park ranger side of me came out, and I was like all excited. I was like, I'm ready to go talk to people and tell a story and bring people to the destination. Then I realized, that's a whole lot of additional work, and they worked really hard and extensive, especially through the pandemic. So I'm excited to have Karen here, and I can't wait to learn more from her and help them out any way I can. So I'll give you a brief report on group sales and the efforts they've been putting forth lately. We've worked most recently with the Emeril Lagasse Foundation with the BBB event that they have in New Orleans. New Orleans is a big drive market for us. So every year we've been heavily engaged and involved in this, what usually is a fantastic program that really highlights our culinary and art that we have in our region. And this year it was more online based, so we did everything we could to have a presence with it. It was kind of a eat around instead of a dine, within the facility, following all the safety precautions. So we made sure that we made some lasting impressions on the folks that attended, made sure they had some things to take away, make them think about us next time they were trying to book some vacation, that's a short drive over to a much prettier beach. Yes. Also, we've been planning on upcoming leisure shows. Those are shifting a little bit more towards the spring numbers, which is okay because those are usually up north. So Canada in February is not super fun, but March it's not as bad, so we'll take that. We've been working on creating our 2021 meeting brochures and also doing some research on 2021 film brochure and webpage, something new to our county and our region as a focus. The team attended the Connect Marketplace Conference in Orlando most recently, actually face-to-face. And over those 2 days, they had 29 7-minute pre-scheduled appointments with meeting planners that were interested in booking business in Northwest Florida. So very successful, and they also are following up with all of those meetings they had with what we call our Discovery Box, so they can learn more about, this region and booking a future event here. So that is the update for group sales, unless you got any other questions for me.
Jason, I just have a question about Connect. That was probably one of the first few industry shows that has come back during the pandemic. How did everything go from everybody's point of view that attended?
They said that it went really well. They said the interaction, was a little awkward at first because you're so used to having that, close proximity information. But the, a positive side to it was that the atmosphere was a lot quieter. So therefore the direct, nothing, makes a better focus in a quiet room. So the direct communication and conference kind of, embedded deeply. And I think people also are so hungry kind of for that interaction that it was so prevalent to be able to build a relationship, which is in turn how you bring more people, to come to your area, vice another. So they said it was positive.
And they're going to plan to come to the warm area, I'm sure,
Bingo.
compared to, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of interest in our area or even south.
Oh, absolutely. It's even folks in Nashville, within a 5-hour radius of driving, we're talking about the difference, the feel already, on even their travel down was nice.
To do visitors and then go back to numbers?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, we are. Our visitor center, I'm going to go through a few statistics with those guys. We've got Christy, who's our visitor center manager, in the room with us today. She definitely is an amazing person. If you don't know her, you need to get to know her. Our visitor center statistics, they've been working hard on preparing to hopefully back open to the public. Right now, we're currently serving folks outside and have been for quite a while. Doing everything we can to interact and get them the information that they need, also any merchandise they may need. Our numbers for visitors have decreased by about 46% over the last month, but our sales have been up by 28%. So whether it be the toilet paper theory or that we think we're not going to make that anymore, whatever it is, we'll take it. It's getting more of our product out there and more of our name recognition out there to folks. Our online sales have been really good, so we'll attribute that to some of the restrictions that have been in place, but we'll take it. They've been planning for a busy spring and summer with inventory, making sure we've got everything we need in-house, taking a little longer to get things in. So we're trying to make sure we're staying ahead of that power curve. And they've also been very busy delivering materials to partners because that's something they really enjoy. It gets them out, lets them engage with the partners in the community and get the information out there for them to share with our visitors. And we're very proud of their adaptation that they've done during this time period and the information that they provide daily to the community and to just the residents as well is fantastic.
Our beach ambassadors, I want to talk about them for a little bit, our volunteer and our paid beach ambassador staff. Our beach ambassadors and volunteers have done an amazing job this year. We have 6 full-time beach ambassadors. We had some part-time seasonal folks we had in, thank goodness, during the busiest time. And under the guidance and organization of Lori Reckenbaugh, who's our lead for that program, the volunteers themselves have volunteered over 6,000 hours this past year. This is an employee value of over $85,000, and that's pretty impressive. And our volunteer of the year was Marilyn Levesque, where she gave over 500 hours of her time, which is impressive. This lady was out there almost every day in some fast. This is our 5th year anniversary, actually, of this program, and Jan and I couldn't be more prouder of the dedication of these folks, and their dedication really showed when they adapted to the limitations during COVID and had 9 training sessions for the volunteers, of course, outdoors, and proving the great value at the beach, during the beach shutdown, providing education to the public every day. They were still out there every day, even when the beaches were shut down, even in more force, trying to communicate with folks, tell them about the area and say, it's okay, it'll be back open, but for now, this is what we've got to do. So it's a tough job for anybody, and especially being a volunteer, so. And we're very proud to have such a giving volunteer and staff that represent the county so well, and we thank them. That's it for me.
I know Lori personally, and she is such an ambassador for our community, so thank you to her and Marilyn. Make sure you give them our thanks from the whole council for all they do for our community.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Next up, we have David with Marketing and Communications. Hi, David.
Morning.
Morning.
All right. Start walking you guys through this, and I try to make it as quick and painless as I can, but there's a lot of information in there. Marketing, right now, it goes without saying, it's an interesting time to be in destination marketing. A lot of different challenges and a lot of unknowns around beyond the horizon. That being said, we've been very blessed in our area in the sense that we've had strong numbers to keep our economy going, and we've been able to be relatively conservative in our messaging. So we don't want to directly, we want to make sure that in light of COVID-19, we're letting everybody know what the answers to their questions are, what the conditions are in Walton County. And that does serve to reassure people, make them more comfortable making their decisions, and whatever those decisions may be, we want to maintain that good relationship with our customers. So a big part of what we're doing is figuring out that balance between traditional destination marketing and basically answering people's questions in light of what can be a fearful environment and trying to assuage those fears. So we continue to run our COVID-19 information page. Tells you how to help the community as a visitor, tells you what the conditions are currently in terms of our restaurants open, our businesses open, can I go to the beach? These are all answers that have changed over the course of 6 months or so. So it's perfectly natural that somebody not as close to the issue as we are would have questions about what it is going to be, and that helps them make their plans. And we have seen that people make plans closer to their destination date range these days because they have those uncertainties. The better job we can do answering their questions, the easier their decision-making process is going to be. So we've been getting a lot of engagement on that page. It shows that this is something people are interested in and do want to have their questions answered about. And I think our visitation numbers show that when their questions are answered well, that they can make a decision that's right for them and their family.
David, I should know this probably, but is that an interactive site, like a chat room almost? If somebody gets on there and has some questions, and can they just type them in and get answers? Or is it more of a narrative that they read or phone calls?
That's a narrative. It's updated daily, and we
Okay.
put the date there on the top. We do get the phone calls a lot through the visitor center, and that's why the visitor center staff stayed on schedule throughout this whole pandemic, because they were busy the entire time, even with the center shut down,
answering the phones.
those phone calls.
Yeah.
Likewise, social media, we get a lot of direct questions on there, and we're able to point them to the information they need. So as we entered into fall season and we moved towards a more open approach and a more traditional marketing approach, it basically split it into 3 general approaches. The first you'll see there is what I would consider our general destination awareness ads. Unlike normal times, we don't have a direct call to action. We're not saying, come to South Walton to do this on this date. We're just saying, here's a beautiful picture of South Walton. Make your own decisions from here. The photography that we use sends an important message. For instance, this one shows those wide open spaces. It gives a strong point towards nature and the beach, because we know that those are activities that people are most interested in right now and they're most comfortable with. The second step, once they've perhaps seen these general awareness ads, because it's important to remember that there are an awful lot of people in this country that have no idea who or what South Walton is. And we have to keep introducing ourselves to those people. While we may feel like everybody knows this, I guarantee you'd be surprised if you get outside of the Southeast, especially that our name recognition, we still have some room to move forward. Once we get them past there, though, and they are actively searching for South Walton and planning vacations, then we want to put them into this second bucket, which is our safety information. We want them to know what they need to know before coming to the destination. And this is what's really cool about digital marketing, is that we know who we're talking to at each of these steps. In the third stage, this is where they're in market. This is something fairly new. Before you might have seen it, or they might have seen it when they come to the area, they would have seen a explanation of the beach flags and water conditions. This moves COVID information into that, and it reminds people, while you're here, here's what you should do to keep the local community safe, to keep your family safe. Again, these are messages that reassure people. They bolster that relationship that we have with our visitors, and put us all on the same team. And I think that's really important, especially when you're talking about fostering multi-generational travel. And as you can see, the wider the net is cast, or the widest net is cast on that first stage, general awareness, and then we get more and more select group as we get people planning to visit and then people coming here. These are some examples of some of our top performing ads. You'll see what people are interested in. This is what they're clicking on. These are the types of ads that show our destination as an outdoors destination, show those beautiful colors of the blues and the greens that we offer here. And they're attracted to the outdoor space and a little bit of that feeling of being able to relax finally, which I think is something we all need. These click-through rates, by the way, are sky high above industry standard, which I believe is 0.32%, and we're seeing 2.26% on that Facebook ad. So these are phenomenal numbers. I think so. And, that may be South Walton's strongest foot to put forward into the future, because we do have an area that's 40% preserved land. And there are just very few destinations that can say that, perhaps 0 beach destinations that can say that. So that's a real strength of ours. We also just performed 3 focus groups where we took ad mock-ups and took them out to people that fit our demographic in Nashville, Atlanta, and Dallas. And these focus groups are a super cool way to get that feedback, because it reminds you of the visitor's point of view, where we can sometimes get too close to things. So I can pick out an ad and I say, this is the perfect ad, or this is the perfect view. But if that doesn't resonate with the visitors, then you're just spinning your wheels, because ideally, those of us in the local market aren't ever going to see many of these ads. We don't need a local to be encouraged to visit South Walton. You're not going to stay in a hotel probably while you're here, so and you're already in the destination. So these focus groups are really valuable, and that's the way we hone our ads and make sure that they're sending the right messages and being received the right way. And I'm glad we've been able to do that. That'll inform, or that is already informing our marketing going forward.
Proves by the click-through, right?
Well, I was going to say that about the click-through rate. I think it's important to keep in mind that, every other city, large or small, every other town in the country is advertising to some of these same consumers. So to fight for that dollar and to fight for those eyeballs, to be able to get people to actually take an action and click through at that rate is really something to be happy about. So
I think we'll start to see, and Echo and Stacy, we'll start to see people that have never been here before and then continue to come back, especially in shoulder seasons for years to come, just because of some of the items we have people didn't know about.
Our revisitation rate is super high. And one of our Philip Downs from Downs and St. Germain, our research group, said that in terms of performance through the pandemic, South Walton may be the number one market in the country in terms of how well we've been able to keep things going. And that's with being said, the fact that we were down 85% in April. Jason mentioned by the end of the fiscal year, we were down only 7%. Most destinations would kill to be down 7%. And for the calendar year, we're projected to be up about 2% over the previous year, which is incredible. Has a lot to do with a really strong Thanksgiving and projected strong Christmas and New Year's Eve. And these are times that we want people to visit. Almost all of our marketing goes towards getting people to visit outside of the summertime. We feel like summertime, we've got a good handle on it. We've got to continue to do awareness, of course, but when we're really trying to drive people here is in the shoulder season and off season. That takes us to communications, which is another great way that we market the destination. For the new members of the board, I just want to explain this view. Think of this as a dashboard. It's similar to what you'll see each time. And you can see the snapshot up there on the left. It's a good way to look for trends. We measure success in the number of articles, the number of impressions, and the media value of that. One of the ways we do that is by establishing relationships with travel writers, in many cases bringing them into the market, showing them around South Walton. Obviously, this year we haven't done zero of that, so in terms of bringing people into the market. So that's the thing that should really jump out at you. If we weren't in a pandemic and I'd brought 0 media visits, it's probably time to have a talking to with me. Because that's a really powerful way to establish that relationship. Fortunately, we've been really good about that in the past, and we've established those good relationships. And now we're leaning on them pretty hard. We've got a great team with Turner PR that we work with, and we have a great team at the TDC that's been very effective. Even we've just hired a new PR specialist, Patty Blake, who is also a professional photographer. So that gives us a huge asset. But Katie and Matt have also really stepped up to cover that absence. Well, that was basically for the past year, we've been down a person in that department. The virtual opportunities is something that probably won't be on most of the dashboards. But again, this year, we look for other ways to reach out. Since we weren't bringing people into the market, we took some of that money that we would have spent there and we used it on a opportunity with Outside Magazine to get Outside Magazine to include us in their emails and information about South Walton in their emails. And again, that speaks to that demographic that's looking for more ways to enjoy the great outdoors. We did a Spruce Eats Instagram takeover, which I told you about last time, but this is the updated version. After that ran, Trip Savvy saw that and gave us an opportunity to do an Instagram takeover for on their site as well, which is really cool. It means that South Walton got to put our photos and our messaging on their platform, which got us in front of all their followers, which is huge. And that didn't cost us anything, which is one of the cool things about communications sometime, which is that if you do your job really well, you can get this coverage without paying for it. Our current pitch themes, this will change throughout the course of the year. Right now we're looking at intimate weddings, travel gift guides, holidays on the road, architectural highlights, pod travel, and culinary, which is represented as fall brews right now. That's coming to an end, of course, as it turned winter last night. But these are all topics that these days have a subtext of COVID. Most magazines, they want to print stuff that can stay evergreen. They don't have to take it down off their website, or it won't look awkward depending on what happens in coming days. So it's going to have that subtext, whether they're talking about a road trip. You know, we're a great destination for a road trip, but the subtext there is people aren't flying as much. When we're talking about architecture, you'll see that every year. We've got a strong case to make in architecture in South Walton, but sometimes the subtext there is it's too cold to go in the water. The holidays on the road kind of follows that same seasonality. And the updates, our communication department is constantly putting out information to our partners, whether that's in the form of a press release, like our most recent one would have let you know about all the places to order Thanksgiving meals to go or to dine out on Thanksgiving in South Walton, or our version of The Connection, which is kind of a newsletter version of this meeting. So if you haven't signed up for The Connection yet, I encourage you to. It'll let you know about everything from beach shops and sales and marketing and what's going on that way, and send you the TDT collections as well, so you'll be able to keep track of that. So that brings us to some of the more fun things. Here's some of the greatest hits in terms of PR. You can see not only are we being in the regional press that might matter to us, like there's Chattanooga Times, but we also get the national press like Reader's Digest or AARP. Again, you can see the subtext in there, the title of that, What to Know About Booking Holiday Travel in 2020. We know that it's different, and we want to get that information across. I think it's really important for businesses to keep that in mind too, that people do want to know what is being done to keep them extra safe this year. And there's really good opportunity for PR if you are doing something along those lines. Best small towns in every state on Trip Savvy. The subtext there is people aren't going to the bigger urban locations as much, or they might not feel comfortable doing that. So we form our pitch to best match the opportunities that exist, and often with great results. You'll see where we got in Oprah magazine, and then it was picked up by MSN. A lot of destinations, if they got picked up by MSN, that's the highlight of the year. I bring almost every time to you a greatest hits that involves something of that caliber. But I want you to know that that's not normal. We have a great destination and a great story to tell, and that helps a lot, but we're also doing a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that happens. Your support of UMA, for instance, has given us access to a story that is worth millions of dollars. It fits that sweet spot because it talks about art and the eco-adventure and the beach. And these are all really good sweet spots for South Walton. And when you have a story that makes sense to the reader, to the writer, and that is just that right amount of quirky and new. For instance, in this case, we were able to say it was the first underwater museum of art in the United States of America. That got us a tremendous amount of press. Besides what was mentioned before, we also were in the New York Times with it. Just last week, we were in Condé Nast Traveler with it. So if you get that good PR story, it can really travel a long ways. And maybe the funniest part about that is you don't do something like the Underwater Museum of Art in terms of how many people are going to go out there, because that's a limited number. There aren't so many scuba divers. And until this year, honestly, we haven't had a way to get divers directly from our beaches out to the site. So I think you're going to get a whole lot more in terms of user participation in that. But even before that, we made millions of dollars on just the PR for it. a great way to tell South Walton's story. Some of these other ones, I want to point out the Forbes article about meetings and events. It's a tough time for people who are doing meetings and events. And the story that is getting picked up is, what are you doing to make this okay, to make this safe? So the more you can do, if you plan on doing a meeting or an event, this is the #1 question that people are going to have on their minds. So it's not hard to answer it. They just want to know that you're doing something. And when you are doing something, it gives us an opportunity to get into some of these publications and be showcased as a responsible destination that you would like to visit. And here's how they look in some of the clippings. It's nice to see the layout, whether that's in print or online. There's the results from the Trip Savvy. And that concludes my communications section. I want to say that we have done incredibly well as a destination throughout this pandemic. And I think we're blessed to be able to say that. Do you guys have any questions for me?
He kind of tooted his horn, but great job.
Great job.
Great job to get that MSN. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Thanks, David.
You did it in your own way, David.
Thanks. Yeah. Well done.
But great job.
Yeah.
Now the trash talk. Just
talk
kidding.
trash.
We'll get rid of that title.
Madam Chair, congratulations on your
Thank you,
election. Existing council members, new council members, I'm Brian Kellenberger, Director of Beach Operations. Appreciate your time this morning. Appreciate your commitment to serve on this council. Beach Operations. My group is tasked with keeping the beaches clean and all of our amenities clean and in good shape. We also maintain some of the road right-of-ways. All of the scenic corridors that have multi-use path, we pay for and manage that maintenance through a contract. We also do some of 98 and some of 331 up to the bridge. Public Works does pay for some of that, but we, since we're out there managing it, we manage their side as well. They pay for it, and we manage the contractor. So that's what we do in a nutshell. We also handle all the capital improvement projects for new beach accesses, new buildings, and improvements to the existing. Some of the work we have going on, existing public beach accesses, Santa Clara Regional Beach Access, one of our bigger ones down in the Seagrove area. We postponed its construction earlier this year due to some legal issues going on, but we recently got approval. We've taken bids, and we're expected to start here in the next 2 weeks. We're exchanging the paperwork with the contractor. They're out of Fort Pierce, Florida. They're up here doing some work in our region associated with Hurricane Michael, and decided to pick up some extra work with us. So it's going to be a nice project. It's well overdue. That's one of our regional beach accesses that was dedicated to a former county resident, Don Krim. He was a big advocate for ADA accessible structures, and so this one's got a pretty large change in elevations, pretty extensive boardwalk, and it had become somewhat structurally compromised. So take about 90 days to rebuild it, have it open, time for spring break. We're also working on some municipal parking projects. We purchased 4 properties over the last couple of years, and we've gotten approval to start on design and permitting of our Grayton Beach parking area, which is just north of 30A on Highway 283. We currently use that as a gravel parking lot. We're going to design and permit it kind of along the same lines that were approved in a previous DO for a hotel project that was going to be on that site. Kind of a semicircular parking lot, be paved, surface, about 180 parking spaces. We also use it for our Grayton Beach shuttle program that we started last year. So it's going to be nice to get started on that one. And then we have 3 other properties, one in Miramar Beach, just off of Driftwood, which is just north of Miramar Regional Beach Access, about a 2-acre lot, be surface parking. Another one just north of Gulf Place on 393, about a 2-acre lot, also will be surface parking for time being. And then a smaller purchase down in the Eastern Lake community. It was 2 residential lots that'll be developed into a small parking lot to service that community and those couple of beach accesses we have there. Those will be in the future. We haven't asked for approval from County Commission to start design and permitting, but we will shortly. This is our Santa Clara Regional Beach access. As you can see, it's primarily just a replacement of the boardwalk, doing walkover. We'll also be doing some work in the parking lot with some of our basic amenities, benches, landscape, hardscape, and some sprucing up of the existing bathroom. Other regional beach access construction, like I said, we purchased a lot of property over the last several years, or a couple of years. Scenic Grove Drive, regional beach access, we took in bids earlier this month. Unfortunately, we only got one contractor participating or submitting a bid. They were almost twice the established budget. So we formally rejected that bid, and we'll take it back out for rebid after a short time visiting with the architect engineer of record to see what we can do to redesign, restructure the project. And also want to talk with the other contractors that had come to our pre-bid meeting that didn't participate in the project to see what they saw that they decided not to participate, and what did the one guy see that did bid on it that made it so much more expensive. I don't believe it's just construction prices right now. I think there was something else, either with the timeline for construction or the monitoring of the structures next door to ours. We have two houses within 10 feet of where our new bathhouse is going to be and where an existing house has to come down. And to tear that house down and put in the new structure meant a lot of monitoring on the two adjacent residential properties to make sure they didn't move or we get sucked up into a lawsuit. I do have some knowledge that those two structures may be torn down in the future. If that's the case, that'll ease our project up a little bit. Seagrove Beach, regional beach access. This is across from the Tom Thumb in Seagrove. We're about 85% with design and permitting. Should be starting construction sometime in spring of 2021. It's also a nice new regional beach access, about 20 parking spaces, handicap accessible boardwalk down to the beach, and a two-fixture per gender bathhouse that'll be set out by the road. The next one is our Walton Dunes regional beach access. This is a property we've had in our inventory for about 20 years. Some of it leased from federal government, and then in 2013 it was conveyed to us by federal government patent deed. And we've been working long and hard on this one to get to the point we're at. We've started design and permitting. We're about 30% done, and we'll be coming back to the BCC with approval for that shortly, and then continuing on and start construction hopefully sometime in the near future. This is the Scenic Gulf Drive regional beach access. As you can see, bathhouse on the west side of the property. Pretty extensive boardwalk to get down from the street level to the dunes. Nice parking lot, curb separating it from the road. Be a nice addition to that area down there to give people public access. This is the Seagrove Beach regional beach access. Bathhouse out by the road, what we call a racetrack parking lot, parking on the interior. That one had some difficulties in design and permit. There's a large ditch that runs right through the project and is a drainage ditch for a large drainage basin north of 30A. But we've overcome all those obstacles, and hopefully we'll put that out for bid shortly. This is the Walton Dunes. As you can see, it's parallel parking on each side of Beachfront Trail. Very small, modest bathhouse, handicap accessible boardwalk. We designed this one. There was a lot of input from the adjacent property owners to not conflict their site views or their use of the beach as little as possible. And so as you can see, we made kind of a cul-de-sac arrangement. We're working on some alternate designs for that right now, maybe a true roundabout design, and then some golf cart parking. And all these new regional beach accesses, we're putting in a little additional golf cart parking because we recognize that even though golf carts may be not fun for some people, that they are heavily used and anticipate more use in the future. Hurricane Sally. So after Hurricane Sally, we met with state and federal emergency management people to assess the damage to the beach. Some of our beaches that have been previously renourished, or what they call engineered, are eligible for state and federal funding. They have taken their surveys and are now determining if that section of the beach on the west end is eligible and if it will receive any funding. Right now, there is no current or future beach renourishment projects planned by the county, but we didn't want to miss any opportunity if opportunity existed. The beaches that have not been engineered, we also submitted some cost numbers or figures for some loss of sand on public beaches, and also for a few boardwalks that were compromised. Holly Lane is in Seagrove, just east of 395. It's still closed. Its pilings were compromised to the point where we have a temporary fix, and we're working on a permanent fix. But we should have it opened up fairly soon, certainly right after the first of the year. This is the Holly Lane beach access. As you can see, some of the pilings, the embedment got completely uncovered. Managed vendor program. This is a program we started in 2019 as an effort to help ease the congestion issues at our public beach accesses and some of the vendor-related issues. The two biggest ones were the ghost set, or a unoccupied vendor set, and then the associated, what we call morning race to the water's edge. And so the managed vendor program, what it is, it's a concession agreement between Walton County and a local industry association, so no cost, no compete contract right now. And it has what's called a cooperational component. And so we have one vendor that the county has entered into agreement with on 9 regional public beach accesses. The cooperational component allows other vendors that want to service clients on those beaches to participate in that managed vendor program. So all they have to do is have product in the storage containers on the beach and a roster of their daily, weekly, or annual customers to the South Walton Beach Service Association, that's our concessionaire, so that when their guests show up, they know that they are indeed paid clients and which customer or which vendor they're working with. And then the South Walton Beach Service Association attendant sets out the equipment for them, and when they get ready to leave, they pull the equipment back up. So what that has done is it's solved that empty ghost chair because your equipment's not set up until you get there, until all your party gets there, and it's pulled up whenever you leave for the day. So it's worked pretty good. This past year, they serviced about 27,000 setups. A setup is 2 chairs and an umbrella. Kind of a estimated revenue generation was between $900,000 and $1 million for that amount of service being done on those 9 beaches for the service contract, which was from March until October 30th. Some of that was downtime because of COVID and the beaches were closed, but the program worked as designed. It helped ease those problems that we were trying to mitigate or minimize. This year, the report will recommend that the program continues and that there be some consideration for the county recouping some of the expense associated with allowing a concessionaire to use the beach for commercial enterprise. In other words, we'll recommend that there be some form of compensation exchanged. Typically, it's in the form of a base fee and then a sharing of revenue or a sharing of profit. But that'll be for the BCC to decide.
Brian, quick question. So is there any organized program for the period of November through February? Just curious.
No, sir. We revert back to what we call the vendor zone program, and that's where we partition off the beach into 50% areas where the vendor is allowed to set up. Okay. The general public is allowed 100% of the beach. And so for that short interim of time, it reverts back to that.
Back to the old way.
Right.
And you haven't seen any issues there?
No, there's not much pressure on the beach, but there is still some pressure, but it's a different type of pressure. And so you don't see the usual complaints of ghost chairs, people racing to the water's edge in the morning and stuff like that. Good. This is the raw data for the months and the different regional beach accesses. Like I said, about 27,000 setups. And if you go between $35 and $45 a day, I know that the prices fluctuates for weekly and annual contracts, but if you do it by day, you get between $900 and $1 million of revenue that was generated. Here's some of the beaches. As you can see, makes for a nice, even though crowded, the beach sets up what we call naturally. And we eliminate the people running down there in the morning to set up their places as stakeholders, and also the empty vendor chair, which was the biggest aggravation. And last but not least, our garbage collection data. As you can see, in September, we were up year over year, 15 to 18%, and then in October, we were up about 30%. So those numbers coincide with Jason's financial numbers, as increased visitorship during those 2 months as compared to year over year. This year, we did about 85,000 bags of garbage off the beach.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian?
Questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Very good. Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you. Thank you, Brian. Next up is Jay for the Executive Director's updates.
Hello again. I feel like a yo-yo today, up and down, up and down. So I was going to talk a little bit about the North Walton TDT, but I think I covered that during the agenda item earlier, so we don't kind of drone on and be sensitive to everybody's time. Unless anybody has any questions about that, I'll certainly entertain any, but we'll just kind of move on. I would like to, unfortunately, we were going to announce our Van S. Butler Award recipient today, and I'm still going to do so, but it won't be quite as joyous occasion because the individual is not here with us today. So without further ado, I'll just announce that the recipient of the 2020 Van S. Butler Jr. Award is Jim Shirley. So, and Jim being Jim, he serves on this TDC Council, but he also serves on the FRLA board for the state of Florida. And so, you know, I'll just comment on Jim and his ability to get things done and his willingness to serve. He's an incredible man. You know, after Hurricane Michael, he really got out there and helped people. You know, and just in my time and knowing him over the past 4.5 years, he's a very giving individual. And so not just of himself, but of his staff, for the public. And he really is a good guy, and I can't think of a better person to receive this award this year. So we'll probably honor him at the next meeting where he can actually officially receive the award. I guess I'll let him hold on to it between now and then. And but anyway, just want to congratulate him on his efforts and what he does and is able to accomplish in his role here in South Walton, or in South Walton, I should say. We're not in South Walton right now. So anyway, I want to thank him for his service and all he does for the community. I'd also like to say, it's not on the agenda or on the slide, but we received the Flagler Award from Visit Florida. They had their awards presentation last week. And so some of y'all may recall that we did a little video last year at our annual meeting talking about advocacy and the importance of tourism and what it means to our economy. And we won an award for that. So kind of think of our annual report, but in digital format. And so we won an award for that. So nice that staff kind of has some recognition of the work that we do. Also for what that video represents and the importance that, you know, tourism has on our economy in Walton County. It's nice that we were able to get that award. So anyway, thought I'd throw that out there and mention that to you. That's all that I have. Unless anybody has any questions of me that I can answer, I'd be happy to.
Congratulations on the award. I saw it in the press release this week. Great
Well
job. Done. And Jim, you're not here, but we're gonna make sure you get some some recognition.
Yeah.
Embarrass the heck out of you.
Anyway, that's it for me.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks,
Thank
Jay.
you.
So next is council updates. Welcome again to the new council. Do you guys have any questions, or not updates? It could be updates, questions for the council. Okay. Now it's time for any public comment. Is there any public comment? Oh, so no need to talk about the 3 minutes. So next is with no further business. Do we have a motion to adjourn and a second?
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
Good.
Thank
Nice
you.
job.